Meeting to order of the regular board meeting, school board meeting of February 13th. First of all, I want to welcome everybody that's here tonight, our guests, and those that are viewing through the internet tonight. We appreciate everybody. First thing I need is a approval of the agenda with a amendment to C1-10 with an updated document.
Can you scroll up so we can see what C1-10 is? I will make that motion. Or were you making the motion and I'm seconding?
I'll second that.
We've got a first and a second, whatever that was.
That'll work.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor of the agenda, saying aye?
Aye.
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 Okay, so passed. Now, have we got a need for interpretation tonight? Okay, thank you. Have we got any public comment tonight? Okay. Next thing on the agenda is oath of office.
You want to take the mic on the other side? All I do is want to use your... So we're going to administer the Director's Oath of Office from the state of Washington and the Othello School District. So we're welcoming Thalia to the board. I state your name.
I, Thalia Lemus,
Do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Director of Othello School District number 147,
of Director of Othello School District 147,
Adams County, State of Washington,
Adams County, State of Washington,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
All right, welcome to the board, Thalia.
Thank you.
Sign right here.
I want to welcome you, Thalia, and look forward to working with you. B3, recognition.
Yeah, we want to take a moment today. Typically, we like to have student and staff recognition embedded in the agenda. I know that's been well received and multiple positive comments, not only from the board, but from the community about those opportunities to recognize students. But we also wanted to let everyone know, and I think it's appropriate as we welcome a new board member, and Thalia starts her, or Director Lemus starts her time with us on the Othello School Board, that last month was School Board Appreciation Month. And Governor Inslee issues a proclamation each year, and I wanted just to read 2 points of it, because I think it's important that people understand the importance of the roles that you all play as elected officials and the impact that you have across the state of Washington. Washington's 295 locally elected school boards of directors and 9 ESDs are the core of public education governance in our system, in our state. You all serve more than 1.1 million students and have a combined annual budget of over $15 billion and employ approximately 120,000 people. Significant influence, significant investment in our state that you all govern and help direct. I think it's also appropriate to recognize school board directors as outstanding public servants and champions for public education. And certainly the last few years for Ken and for Jen, they've been tested. We've all been tested, but the issues and concerns that were heightened during the response to the pandemic in the state of Washington in particular was not an easy time for any elected official, and I know in school boards they felt it pretty intensely. WASDA also sent us a nice letter of recognition for Ken and Jen, each reaching a significant milestone. So certificates and recognition of 5 years of service to the Othello School District. So we wanted to get you those tonight and give you a round of applause and say thank you for all of your hard work here in the school district.
Ed, do you actually want us to stand up? Okay, that way's fine. No. Like together, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, why don't you guys take one together? Yeah. Pete can be in the middle of it. Oh, yeah, I know. We'll let Gael handle that.
Well, then I have to flip it out too. Okay, hold on.
Thank you very much for that. Board member discussion. First thing is the legislative report. And the legislative representatives throughout the state, we had our first meeting last Monday and got to meet together via Zoom, and we'll be meeting once a month to go through updates and as the legislative goes through. Every Monday, every Thursday at noon, they do have, why the legislative is going on right now, has a update on what WASDA has been doing during the session, during the week. And we'll kind of go through that. It's all available through the WASDA webpage. And once you get onto their page, you could go to strategic advocacy and go to legislative updates from there. And then you could go this week. And there is a document there that you could download, which will kind of give a brief update of the bills that have come up for the week. If you go to, under the legislative updates in the Bill Watch, you can see there is 155 bills right now that deal with kids and schools. This kind of gives you an idea, it gives you the bill, kind of what it is, the sponsor of it, and the urgent action support, the WASDA stance, whether they're indicating whether they support it, and kind of a relevant about what the bill is about. The first one there that's been moving through is universal free school meals throughout the state. And that one has been moving through quite a bit. So that's kind of a brief update on the legislative end of it.
Can I just share maybe 2 or 3 points, Ken?
Yes,
One that I think Ken and I will be in Olympia at the end of the month,
yes.
an opportunity to partner with other folks who are lobbying across the state for issues that are important to school districts. We'll have a chance to go through some training, I think, for half a day, and then half a day just prior to a board meeting, we'll have to hustle back a chance to interact with our representatives in our area to share some concerns or support for various legislation that's pushing through. I guess 3 in particular that we're paying attention to that the board should be aware of, and Ken and I have talked about these a little bit. One is around TK and some of the funding changes and pressures that the state is feeling based on a perception that ECAP slots have been impacted by school districts taking on more TK classrooms. OSPI, I think not coincidentally, last week released a bit of a research update on how the benefit of TK and how well it's going in our state. I think to put some pressure on folks to make sure that we can continue with our model. I think we've certainly been encouraged by what we've seen in Othello. So any changes there would have an impact on what we're doing.
Yes, and WASDA at the time, when I talked to you, really didn't have a stance on this bill that was going through, but they were looking for what the impacts would be to a district.
Yeah, so I know the bill's had multiple edits and it's still working its way through, so we'll see what happens with that one.
Just for clarification purposes, how many TK classrooms do we have this year?
We have 3.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we probably would have more if we had the physical space based on the outcomes that we're getting and how we've been able to support that. Another one that I heard about recently through a superintendent network was an adjustment that's being suggested about ninth and 10th graders being able to do Running Start online and the impact that might have for course taking patterns. And it just doesn't seem like it's been as fleshed out as it needs to be. I think it's been discussed in the interest of providing early access for students, but there are some concerns for school districts about kids getting all their credits done by the time they're through 11th grade. What do we do with them that senior year? Is it appropriate for them to move on? So we're watching that one just a little bit to see what happens with it. And then I think the big question for many of us is, what are they going to do around funding? What is it going to mean for salary adjustments that we need to prepare for as a system? Certainly the state is waiting for that, and I think that they have till maybe mid-April to have that figured out.
Yes. Yep.
So I think certainly more conversation to come around that about where we're headed as a state.
Okay, the Scholarship and Miscellaneous Board Fund. I would really like a full board presence when we discuss this, but you might start thinking about that, how much we want to put towards scholarship, and how we can disperse our miscellaneous fund that we have created from that.
I do
Food
have
price.
an idea for some of the miscellaneous fund. I had a conversation with a staff member from OHS this weekend, and National Honor Society was planning on a fundraiser, but it due to policy and technical issues, it isn't working out. And so they're unable to find funding to purchase their stoles for graduation. So whether we put that in partially, try to fund that, there's 60 seniors this year that's graduating from National Honor Society. And they're like $23 a stole. So that's something that we could consider for part of that miscellaneous, just as an idea or a portion of it or whatever. I did give suggestions also about other grant funding for that person to go after, especially with the changes that the state has made with funding for all kinds of different clubs and how fundraising can happen and can't happen, and the changes that has dramatically affected many different groups within our district. I'm sure that there's many that are affected that way, but that was something that I just recently was made aware of.
Okay, how quick do we need a response on that one?
They have to order them by beginning of April to get them in time for mid-May, because I think it takes like a month, was what she said, something on that kind of a timeline.
Okay, so hopefully we have a full board here at our next meeting and we have a discussion on that.
The miscellaneous fund is something new to me. What is that?
So what the board, in the past, board members has usually donated their full
Stipend.
what they get at the end of the year, towards the scholarship. Well, last year, we decided to create a different fund. It's up to the individual board members how much they want to put in. But most of them put half into the scholarship fund and we put another half into a separate fund for different situations like this that happens throughout the year that the board could help contribute to and help different things that come up.
Got it. Do we know how much money we have in the scholarship fund right now?
Yeah, we have both those account numbers. So
Yes.
The miscellaneous account is $6,684.78. And the scholarship account is $10,095.59.
Thank you.
Scheduled date for student representative interviews in March. We got to go through the application process first.
To
Of
replace
course.
Gael?
I really want to encourage him to reapply again.
He's going to graduate.
He's
That would be
gonna graduate,
difficult.
So what are the dates of the terms when they're up? I know they're kind of offset. Are we going to do both of them again at the same time?
I think
Or-
that Gael is June to June, and we put Jaden as January to January so that we had some overlap. So, but if we were able to pick someone in March, that would be perfect for them to be able to start attending, either in person by Zoom, just to
Yes.
kind of start getting broken in, seeing different things, experiencing some things with us. So,
Do we want to schedule this for the last meeting of March and start the meeting at 6 o'clock to do interviews?
I think that tentatively, with only 3 of us present.
Should work.
Sharon, do you have your schedule with you? Do you need to check?
Oh, no, I don't. But I'm sure I'm fine for that day if we're having a meeting.
Okay.
I
So we'll-
usually have all my meetings right there, so I have no problem. Like 6 o'clock, is that what you're saying?
yes.
Okay,
So what we'll need to do, though, is start the process to get applications out there again.
One of the questions that Marisa and I were discussing regarding the logistics of all this, are you interested in interviewing, if we get enough of a pool, do you want to select 2 reps in the March activity, one that would replace Gael in June, and then another that would slot in January? That's what we did last time. We selected 2. So we just want to be really clear with the students that apply, that we'd be selecting 1 or 2, or we can just wait and see what the applicant pool looks like. But, I mean, prepared to be flexible there if we find 2 outstanding candidates, and perhaps one is going to be a senior next year and one a sophomore, and, we bring them on at the end of the year. So something to consider.
I think we could be flexible on that, because like I said, when we're doing the interview, we might find that second candidate that is really good, so.
I think
could-
to publicize that there's a possibility that it would happen, but that we're kind of flexible. It's more about who than the for sure settling if there's not a perfect applicant, 2 perfect applicants. But to be able to have, to publicize that, I think is better.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, we'll go to, is there any more board discussion? Okay, we'll go to B5, student representative reports. Gael?
I was gonna ask you guys how do you guys think that the Cookies for Convo went? Because obviously you were at the high school with me, and then you were at the middle school with me.
That is some of the best student engagement that I have personally had at the high school with students. It was just absolutely great. I would like to see how we can expand on that to the elementary schools and even Desert Oasis. It was just absolutely wonderful. Lots of questions from students at the high school. A lot of good information. I know Sharon was with me there, and she filled out a whole page making notes and everything else from all the students and all the questions that they had and comments that they had. It was just really good. Really enjoyed it.
I agree
I
with
think
Ken.
it was a highlight of our entire school board year, is something like this. with working with the students and enthusiasm. It was really great. I want to appreciate both Gail and Jade for putting that together because it was great.
Yes.
I agree with both of them. It was a wonderful experience. There were definitely themes that came out at the middle school, things that they were frustrated with, and then sharing, you can change those things. So that was, we can? What? So that was very interesting. To be able to have those conversations. In fact, I don't know if I had mentioned to you before, Gael, we had an invitation from, now I'm not going to be able to remember her name, to come to an AVID class, both student reps and a couple of board members. She was the Crystal Apple teacher 2 years ago. Math, Magana, thank you. And so she invited us to come to her AVID class to have that conversation, and we just said, yeah, that would be great. So please put that on your radar so that we could set that up, Gael.
Okay.
That'd be great. And maybe reach out to her and come up with some dates for the next board meeting.
Okay.
So that a couple of board members could decide like which times work best and dates. But it was really fun to see and hear their views and their thoughts. I consistently asked the same question of all of the students because most of them were trying to just have a conversation. So how's your day and what's going on? I was like, no, I just want to go right to the meat. That's cute that you want to have a whole conversation, but not with that massive line. So that was really interesting because they were very trying to engage in just having a friendly conversation. So that was cute. That they were being very conversational and prepared to talk to an adult like that. That was great. So I enjoyed that.
Gael, could I ask you to describe that activity for Director Lemus and also for those who maybe are watching the YouTube display of this activity, just so they understand what it was like when you all were there?
Yeah, so at the high school, we set up in the corridor, so the lunchroom. It was me, Jaden, 2 school members, and then the principal from the high school. And we set up in front with a bunch of cookies. And the whole point was for students to come up to us, ask any questions, or just talk to us about any thoughts, or literally anything that they want to talk to us about. And in exchange for having a conversation with us, we gave them a cookie. And I really liked the way it turned out. Personally, I think it went better at the middle school than at the high school, because there was just a bunch of kids that wanted cookies at the high school. But I got a lot of good conversations at the middle school. And I also like that I got people coming up to me and asking me, how do I become a student rep like you? So I'm hoping that maybe I get to see them in the application pool for when I'm going to get replaced. But yeah, I think it went really great. I'm thinking about trying to get in contact with Mr. Tovar and trying to do it at the Desert Oasis and seeing if maybe 2 or all of us go, like school members. I don't know how that would be.
If there's more than 2 board members, then it has to be an open public meeting and open to the public. Not that that is a problem, but then there's a process for people to have to be able to be, go through the front office and get, and so if there's only 2 board members, then it's not an open public meeting.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter either way. It's just that's information for you to know about.
Okay.
So. And there's been plenty of times that we've had open public meetings on campuses. Every time we do a site visit, that's what they are. It's just state laws that we need to be aware of. I would love to try elementary schools
Okay.
in different ways.
Yes.
I just wanted to give Gael some feedback on what we expect as employers and the steps that you took to kind of get to this conversation tonight. So you go to a training at WASDA, you hear about an idea that you think is interesting or might have benefit to the system, you organize it, and then you carry it out, and then you come and you debrief and you think about it and you plan the next one. So when we think about what's the purpose of public schools and public education, it's to train people to do what you have just demonstrated. Like, can you go out and do those things? Can you listen to an idea, figure out how it works in your context, actually do it, think about how it went, and then start over. So I just wanted to commend you for, that's what student voice is all about, and it's difficult to achieve and difficult to make sure that we're hearing it. But that was a great activity, and so I just wanted to thank
Thank
you
you.
for taking the lead on that.
I was also going to share something that Jaden wanted me to share. She was wanted to talk about how how well accepted the parking pass at the high school was. I didn't really get any hear any bad talking about it. I mean, kids weren't really complaining about it, and I think it's fair what they did. And there's a lot more parking now. Kids aren't parking where this teacher parking is, so that's good. But yeah.
Can you share what the process is and maybe a little bit more background for those that possibly don't have high school students or don't know what you're talking about?
Oh, it's just something the high school set up so that, because I don't know exactly why they did it, but it was just if you want to be able to park at the high school, you need driver's license, proof of insurance, license plate, and then you go and they write it all down on a piece of paper, and then you get a parking pass, so you're allowed to park in the parking lot. And if you don't have one, you get a warning, and then I believe they call home the second time, and the third time, I don't know if they fine you or what, but it just gets obviously worse the more times you go without a pass.
Yep, I can provide a little bit of background. It was really a systems issue and a safety issue and a spacing issue. So certainly more and more students coming to that high school, more and more staff work there. It is a challenge for our staff to find a place to park. We lost some parking spots when we took the safety measure of putting up the barricades around the bus loop, so that impacted it a little bit. So I was concerned about how some of our students were behaving in the parking lot and whether or not our systems were tight enough about us monitoring who was in our parking lot. So I think they required that the students bring in proof of insurance and a valid driver's license, and then they were given a placard to park in our parking lot. If you drive around that high school between 9 and 2:30, there's a number of cars parked on the road now. People parked on the street, no longer in the parking lot. So I think as students become comfortable with the system and the expectations, that it felt like a bit of a change, but really it was us going back to systems that were already in place, just perhaps not being enforced at the level that they should have been.
Could you go over the penalties really quick? Kyle mentioned something about a warning and then a fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's actually a fine associated with it. I don't know those details, but I can certainly find them out.
Yeah.
I'll check in with the high school about how they're monitoring it. I imagine it's through our security staff, that they're out
Yeah.
checking the parking lot periodically and doing spot checks. But I can get that information for the board, certainly.
One last question, is there a fee
Oh,
to have a pass?
Oh no, it's free.
Okay, just verifying.
Yeah,
Thanks.
free. I don't know if in
Great.
the past before they charged you to get one, but it was just free. The security guard just wrote down everything, information on the paper, and then handed you a pass, and that was it.
Great.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go on to C1, required approvals. I need a motion for the required approvals.
Since there's been a change to one of those, can we see the change?
C1-10.
Yes, please.
I believe it was just that there was a name that was stricken from the resignation list.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. I move that we approve the required approvals.
Got a
Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Accounts payable warrants 2.
I move we approve accounts payable warrants 2.
I second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And I abstain from that vote. Okay, we'll go on to C3, superintendent's information.
Yeah, I'm going to invite Amy Paris forward. Amy's going to share some information with the board about a project she's been working on for a number of years, and we think that it'll still take another year or two for us to to work through the logistics and agreements that are required for what is an exciting opportunity for a number of our students. And that's a direct transfer agreement, so earning an AA in high school, but on our campus. And it's going to require a partnership with, we've been working really closely with Big Bend Community College. And so we want to share the current reality at the high school, the things we're working on with Big Bend, and sort of some of the timeline around when we see this coming into place. So we'll turn it over to Amy.
Hello, thank you. Just have a few brief slides, and I know they're really hard to read up there, so hopefully you have something closer to look at. But like Pete mentioned, this has been something that we've talked about for several years, how we have lots of college and the high school agreements, classes that are dual credit. So you take the class at high school and you can earn college credit through some through Big Bend already, Eastern, UW, and Central. And over the course of probably 8 to 10 years, we've had different teachers get those agreements. And it's usually based on your content. So if you're a social studies teacher, you figure out what your junior social studies class might align with at a college, and you basically teach their class. And the kids can earn credit and generate a transcript, and it's a very, very positive thing. We, in the Othello School District, we've been recognized for as many classes as we've put together for a small rural Eastern Washington school. And so that's always been really good news. But what it hasn't provided is the direct transfer degree. So the more of the package for students to be able to benefit, to take a group of credits and be able to transfer anywhere in the state. So the first slide is really just our goal. And what we've been able to do now is, oh, I have the clicker, don't I? Thanks. Is be able to establish the goal that, yep, this is what we want. It's time, we're going to move forward in this direction, and we're kind of getting all the stakeholders in place. So our goal there is written at the top. Our students need to have the opportunity to earn an AA, and well, it's an Associates of Arts and Science Direct Transfer Agreement, that's the official name of it, by the time they graduate from the Othello School District. And what I included below there was really the definition of what that really means, and really just to highlight that you can take this direct transfer degree to any public university in Washington as a junior, and everything will transfer together as a package. Your general ed credits are fulfilled. And it's the most popular transfer degree in the state. So the community college system's made up of 32, 34 community colleges, and they all have this same agreement. So no matter where these credits are coming from, once the students complete it, it all kind of travels together. So what we've done is worked with some folks from Big Bend and taken their requirements. Again, I know it's hard to read, but on the left side, it really just goes through everything that they ask for. We showed them everything we have. They put together a table for us, and we came up with this. So the third slide is really where we are at, the current reality. And it's really, really good news. When you look at the left-hand column, and you can see that we need, our kids would need 15 credits in that basic requirement category. OSD current courses are listed there, and you can see there's a ton of options for our kids. Now, what we've been spending the time doing is figuring out which college courses each one of those things matches up with, and then we've found the gaps. So we know exactly where we need to be targeting to be able to complete this whole pathway for our kids. So everything's kind of listed there. I would highlight on this slide, in the humanities area, we need a couple of more classes, at least 10 credits. We're looking at some Spanish options there, possibly the arts and maybe some stuff in PE. The box or the column all the way to the right, the pending X's, that's probably the most exciting news to me. Probably in the last 2 weeks, I'm going to back up a slide. We've been kind of building the team. The people who've been working on this for a while really understand this, but now in the last 2 weeks we've gone out to the district directors, the district administration, the high school counselors, and the staff to really show them where we are, and so that now the conversation is really all moving in the right direction. And even today, I got called into 2 or 3 different PLCs that I normally don't attend because they had questions. And they were writing on whiteboards saying, what if we did this, and what if we did this? So that's exciting to me because it's really got to be the teachers that are behind this and realize how important this can be, this opportunity for our kids.
Before you go off this
Yes.
slide, you have quite a few places there in the ideal state that say, could these move to CIHS? What's that?
That means college and the high school.
Okay.
So I'm glad you asked that. If you look at the OSD current courses in those categories, they say Big Bend Community College EDUC 115. That means currently there's a CTE class, and that one happens to be Teaching Academy, that generates Big Bend credit, but it's through a CTE articulation. And that's a little bit different than this college and the high school. So what we're looking at is which one of those existing courses could we switch over to get this agreement for so that they can go in the pool of Big Bend credits towards this AA. And the last thing I would say about that is at the very bottom, 30 credits have to come from Big Bend. So what's cool is the total 90 credit AA that we're looking at, a lot of those classes will be able to be transferred from the University of Washington or Eastern or wherever the kids have already taken their classes from. But 30 of them do need to be in this college and the high school realm. So that's why we would be looking at switching some of the existing ones over.
Thank you. That makes more sense.
Okay. And then just lastly, this is kind of where we are now. So again, lots of energy around this right now, so that's really exciting. We're working closely with the Big Bend staff on the MOUs, which you've probably seen from the other colleges come back past your desk. But every college that we work with, there's an agreement about how this works. There's a lot of calibration with our staff on how they deliver these courses, how the grading goes, how the credits generated. There's a small stipend for these teachers, but they have to have a master's in their content area or a really rich background in science or math or whatever articulation we're trying to get. So it's a big deal for these teachers, and they're teaching a college course. So it's good for them, but it's really good for our kids in the rigor. So the other thing, we're identifying gaps, just like I've kind of mentioned, and really having rich conversations. I think there's a much bigger circle of people who really understand now where we're headed and why this is important for our students. Trying to educate a wider audience. You guys were next on our list. Then we'll go out to students and families in the community. And I hope, and so people keep asking me a timeline, if we have as much energy and it really comes to pass as is going on right now, I would say in 2 years, we'll be able to start to tell 8th graders, 9th graders, if you take this course-taking pattern of courses, you'll get there. And that buys us a little bit of time. So if these current middle school kids kind of take the right path, by the time they're juniors and seniors, I really think we'll have those gaps filled. So it's pretty exciting. It's one of those things that doesn't just happen now, and I always wish it would go faster, but yeah, it's pretty neat work.
So, question of, if this all works out, the grand plan and scheme, what would happen with running start that let's say somebody doesn't want Big Bend, they want to do CBC or WSU Tri-Cities or something else? Would that still be an option for those individuals or families for whatever reason they feel like they need to do that route instead? Or how would that work?
Absolutely. I see this, and I think, I guess things can morph and change, but I just see this as an additional option. So we will always have these rigorous courses available to our kids, and if they choose to just take kind of random ones that they like we have been, that's fine. Maybe their plan is a little bit different, but to be able to have this particular pathway just as an option for the students who choose it will be an amazing thing for our community. Not have to leave, get that AA, and then transfer anywhere, or maybe go to Big Bend for a quarter to get your feet wet, and then transfer on. But I've tried to make it really clear, especially to the staff who already have these agreements and have for 15 or 20 years, that that work is super valuable, and they have done some amazing things for our kids, getting them ready for college. So we're not looking to replace or take away those existing things, but just to add this pathway.
I just want to add a comment there about why it's important to work towards this addition. From a social emotional perspective, we have a number of families that might not feel comfortable sending a 15-year-old to community college campus, might not feel comfortable with a young driver driving every day to Moses Lake or to the Tri-Cities. And so I think it allows, I guess the other part from the student perspective is it doesn't force you out of a traditional high school experience. You can be on campus, you can have lunch there, you're still associating with friends at a developmentally appropriate age, and it just gives more options for kids who want that experience, who maybe have been missing out on this opportunity, and not taking away any of these other opportunities for families who have a history or feel comfortable with, our more traditional ones. So a great option for our kids, I think, that's coming.
If I could add something, I'm actually going to back you up on that one because I was a Running Start student. And if I could go back 10 years and have it in the high school, I would totally prefer that, because it did take away from my high school experience. The last 2 years, having to be at CBC every single day, I missed a lot of assemblies. I missed games. I missed a lot. So this is really exciting. I think that this is amazing.
Great, yes, thank you.
Thank you for all your
Thank
hard
you.
work.
Anything else, Pete?
Nothing else there. I guess just want to thank Amy for her presentation and for giving that update to the board. The other piece I want to share that's important about these course-taking patterns and the opportunities that we've had for several years, so much evidence out there that if students can generate a nest egg of college credits, much more likely to move on and actually complete a degree, not take out a loan or start a program that they don't finish. And so the more students that we can have generate this nest egg of credits, have rigorous coursework opportunities where they're finding success, much more likely to graduate with a degree that allows them to find a job that they can support themselves and a family with. So really, I think that's a mission of public ed. And so
Yes.
exciting that we can offer that.
Especially if they could do it in the high school.
Yeah.
That they're
Yeah, I think
attending.
we're pretty fortunate that the state of Washington leads the country around some of these initiatives. This doesn't happen everywhere where kids have this experience where pretty economically you can earn an AA basically free, particularly with this model where you can graduate with that tremendous advantage.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll go on to item E, policy review. We have a bunch of first readings. Pete, do you have an update on the process for our policy reviews?
Well, we're sort of at the mercy of WASDA and their queue. We haven't really heard from them recently. They're starting the 4,000s? Yeah, so we'll get these in front of you continually because there's so many to go through, but we didn't want to overwhelm you. It felt like it might have been overwhelming at this point, but certainly with the first reading, give you a chance to check through those things and make sure that our policies are as up to date as possible. But it'll be the next several months that we're working through this stuff.
Okay, so on these first readings, if you have any comments, get back with Pete. And because if not, then we'll probably have them on the consent agenda for the next meeting, I believe.
I think that we need to do a first and a second, have opportunities before we then
Wanna
put
do
them
a
on a
second?
consent. I do have two minor changes. They're both in procedural, 1105P and 1400P. They were just some odd, there was one or two just odd phrases that by the time I had a chance to read them thoroughly, I didn't have enough time to do the 24-hour period of my submitting a proposed before this meeting. So they'll be
Okay.
in the next one. And they're very just minor, so
Okay.
just an FYI.
Well, we'll look for that feedback and then we'll
Yes.
cycle them back, so. Maybe it's good to get Director Lemus on an understanding around this. So we've engaged with WASDA several months ago on a policy review, all of our policies. We entered into a contract with them, several districts in the queue. It took several months before we even heard back from them on the 1000s. They got some of that stuff in front of us, made some recommended changes, and so we're just continually bringing those in front of the board. But this was really, it wasn't an internal review, it was WASDA taking all of our policies and laying them next to model policies. So it's just a refresh, but you'll get plenty of opportunity to read through them over the next several months.
Okay, we'll go to F1, upcoming events. Of course, we got midwinter break starting this week. And then our next regular board meeting will be February 27th. Is there any other items that need to be, that we know? Okay.
I don't know if it needs to be listed on here, but I think it's worthy of conversation. The chamber banquet is when?
February 24th, Friday, February 24th.
February 20. So we'll have, I think, I think 3 of our teachers are recognized this year in different capacities, and we'll be making those announcements in the next 2 days of who those individuals are. But if the board is interested in being present, they can find out where.
Yeah, so tomorrow at 8:40 a.m. we will be at McFarland Middle School, if you would like to join us. And then on Tuesday at 8:40 a.m., or sorry, Wednesday at 8:40 a.m. At Lutakaga. So if
Great.
you'd like to join us, and then it'll be a surprise as to who it is.
Music Boosters is also having their annual auction on the night before that event. So that is Thursday, the 23rd. I know that they have said that they will be getting each of the board members an invitation for that, like they have in the past. So looking forward to that one as well.
So that one, you may publicize that there may be a quorum, but no action taken.
Why don't you I think at both would be beneficial, both the chamber and the music boosters. Thank you.
Okay, time for board self-assessment.
Yay, we're a board of 5, but
Yes.
not all present. Again?
I have to request access, Marissa.
Say, well, not all board members were here. It's still nice to have the Zoom capability
Oh, yes.
to get
Right, no matter where
board.
we all may be. And it would always be great. I mean, I understand that there is extenuating circumstances. It's not going to always happen, but to also have all student reps present is, it's not just about the 5 of us, it's about all 7 really. So. Wonderful advancements and news from the district about the AA and S DTS. Was that, oh, okay. I mean, that's an amazing progress to be able to hear that and to know that the social and emotional and they're still going to be able to be high school students while they're college students. I know that's a big issue.
I think hearing from Gael and his progress, that was pretty amazing.
Mhm.
Well-planned agenda.
Mhm.
This is, I think, for future meetings, it'll be good for Marisa and I to be mindful, and I'd ask everyone else to, we've gotten a bit of a rhythm in the meetings, but we have a new member. And so I know Thalia has watched some of those meetings and been paying attention to what's happening, but I had to remind myself tonight, well, there are a couple things that she doesn't have the background around. So I think I appreciate and trust that she will ask questions, but also I think it's a good reminder for us for future meetings to make sure we give her the background as she, moves into her role as a new board member.
Sad but exciting to be talking about future changes with student reps as well. There's always a time to graduate and move on. Just stay a super senior and stay on the board. We may still pick you.
Anything else? Okay, with that, before adjourning the meeting, I would just like to remind everybody out there that tomorrow is election day. If you haven't got your ballots in yet, please do so by tomorrow. Either drop them in the mail or you can drop them off in the ballot box in front of the Adams County Services Building on Main Street. With that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.